What's up, to Life in a Body You Love chicks? We are going to do something a little bit different today since this episode is going to drop on February 1st. By the way, if you listen to this on a podcast app and it lets you leave a review, if you can give me a good review about why you love this podcast so much, that would be amazing. Or share your favorite episodes with your friends. If you watch me on YouTube, click that little subscribe button, bell thingy, whatever it is down there, so that we can grow this thing and we can share all of this information about how women can actually do life in a body they love and love the life that they're living, right? That's the goal. And so here's why we're going to do a check-in today, even though this is a little outside of our usual structure. So everybody set goals for January 1st, I'm sure. And here we are, February 1st. And what typically happens? Goals have already gone to the wayside. New Year's resolutions are done for well over 50% of people who set a goal. And I don't want that to be you. Now, even if you didn't set specifically a New Year's resolution, I think the questions that I'm going to go through with you today are still going to be beneficial. So you still want to tune in, okay? But here's the deal. We are so busy. We're so busy. And so we set these goals, and if we don't check in with them on a regular basis, we're going to drop the ball. Like, there's just no way around it. We're doing too many things. Our brains are in a million places. Everybody, whether they actually have ADD or not, feels like they do because we're being bombarded with so much stuff. Everybody needs our time and attention. Even the people who don't need it, they're really good at luring us in to getting our time and attention, right? And so if our eye isn't on the prize, if we're not checking in with how we're doing and evaluating it, then there's just no way that we're going to keep up with something for like a whole year or even a few months. And so I like to use the beginning of any month to check back in with how am I doing? What are my priorities? Whether it's a New Year's resolution or it's like my goals for certain areas. I run my financials in my business once a month. I should probably do it more, but I do it once a month. I check in with my own health goals once a month. I check in with my relationship goals once a month. How am I doing? Am I making improvement? Am I backsliding? Have I completely forgotten about it? Because sometimes that's the case, right? And so the very first thing to do is to ask yourself, in all honesty, how am I doing making progress? So if it was a weight loss goal that you set for January 1, are you making progress? Is the scale moving? Are you doing the things that you said that you wanted to do to lose weight? And if not, then we have to evaluate why. So there's a couple of things here. One thing is that maybe what we're doing is working and we're very impatient and unrealistic, and we need to just ride the course. Okay, we'll talk more about that in a second. But the other could be that we're not making progress towards our goals. And that's either because our plan is not effective, which is fine. Like, don't beat yourself up about that. When we start something and it's not effective, we evaluate. That's the point of doing these check-ins with yourself. We evaluate, is this working? And if not, what sort of tweaks do I need to make? That's just being a smart strategist, you guys. There's nothing wrong with you implementing something, finding out, oh, this isn't actually working, and we make adjustments. Guess what? Secret. That's what I have to do with my clients in the Keep It Off Academy. I don't necessarily know right from the jump what's going to be the best for their body. I know how to evaluate if it's working and then make an educated decision about how we should proceed to try to get things buttoned up for them, right? And so you need to just have really good strategy. What things can you change, or what is or isn't working about your current process? Now, it may also be the case that you're not making progress towards your goal because you're not doing the things that you set out to do. And again, it becomes an issue of, why aren't I doing those things? Did you just get busy and it went to the wayside and you need to reprioritize? You need to implement some actual habit strategies. Are you just kind of letting yourself off the hook? Because if that's the case, that's when we're just kicking the can down the road indefinitely. And we just set the same New Year's resolution every single year. It's like Groundhog's Day. Ooh, which is also tomorrow when this drops, right? So if you don't want your weight loss plan to feel like Groundhog's Day, you cannot take your eye off the prize and keep kicking the can down the road and expecting that this year is going to go any different than any other year. If that's what you always do, no judgment. That's how I rolled for years. Set big goals January 1. By February, I was like, I'm doing life. I'm not paying any attention to my goals until something else irritates me about that. So if it was weight loss, then maybe I put on some clothes that I was like, oh my gosh, okay, fine, I got to get back on the horse. But then I never stayed on the horse consistently enough to get results. If you keep doing that, here's your sign, boo. Don't let it become March 1st without you having real strategy in place. Don't do it, because March 1st is going to turn into April 1st. April 1st is going to turn into May 1st. Before you know it, it's 2024. You're waking up on New Year's of 2024 and you're like, how am I here again? How is this the case? Because you didn't prioritize and keep up with your goals each and every single month. So evaluate, how are you doing? Are you doing the things that you set out to do? Yes or no? If you are doing the things that you set out to do, are they working? Yes or no? If it appears that they're not, are you being realistic? Are you sure they're not working? Because sometimes we just get so impatient that we want to pull the trigger and change the plan, even though the plan's actually working. So here's an example of this. If you're trying to lose weight and you just changed a lot of good things, like you're eating more healthy, you're going to the gym, and maybe for the first 3 weeks of the month, you were losing weight. And then this last week, the scale went up. And you're like, what happened? I've been doing everything perfect. Why did the scale go up? The scale fluctuating 1 week doesn't mean that your plan doesn't work. It doesn't mean anything. It literally doesn't mean anything. Maybe it means that you're getting ready to start your period. Maybe it means that you're really stressed out. Maybe you'll never figure out why that scale did that. But if you just keep writing it out, next week, it'll start going down again. So don't be so ambitious towards your goals that you just pull the trigger anytime there's one tiny appearing to be a hiccup. Is it really a hiccup? Like, you gotta kind of figure that out, right? If in business, there's ups and downs. Is the overall trajectory going up on whatever the goal is? Or is it plateaued or going down? And then you do need to intervene. But nothing is ever a linear, things go perfect, right? And we can't have that as an expectation. So there's a whole lot that goes into that first question of even figuring out if you're making progress or not, right? Nothing is just ever so straightforward. So I actually just sort of gave you all of the questions and said it was the first question, but it wasn't. So question number 1 is, am I making progress? Question number 2 is, am I being too lenient with myself or too strict and having unrealistic expectations? See, I blended those together, but they're really 2 different questions. Am I making progress? Do I feel like I'm making progress? Am I really making progress? What are your indicators if there's progress? So sometimes when we set a goal, we didn't even make an indicator. We just said, I want this to be better. Whatever this thing is. If you're not watching me on the video, I got my little rabbit ear finger things going on here. How are you tracking if there's progress? So if it's weight, is it the scale? Are you doing some serious body recomp where you're putting on muscle and you're losing fat? Then maybe the scale isn't the only thing that you have to measure to know if you're actually making progress. Maybe you need measurements. Maybe you need photos. Like maybe your evaluation tool is not complete, right? And so whatever the goal was, how are you measuring if your plan is effective? Are you letting yourself off the hook? Or are you being way too strict with yourself? If you're not happy with your progress, if you have key indicators that tell you that what you're doing is not working, where do you need to pivot? What things do you need to put in place? So we'll use weight again. Maybe you were doing really good for a few weeks and the scale was moving and now it's not moving for 1 week. We don't change anything based on that. 1 week is not a plateau, but let's say you're in a plateau for 3 weeks. That's when I'm working with my clients. This is officially a plateau if your scale hasn't moved for 3 weeks. Now, I know some of you are losing your mind when you hear me say that. My type A aggressive women who want the scale to move every single week. I hear you, boo. I'm also very impatient, but here's the perspective that we need to take. First of all, it can take 3 weeks for your body to balance out. That it is what it is. I didn't write the rule. Don't shoot the messenger. It's just your body. If I could change it, I would. But here's the deal. If you have been, let's say it's going to take you a whole year to hit your weight loss goal, a whole flipping year. Ugh, right? But listen, if the alternative is that you continue to do crazy things to your body where the weight won't stay off, or you do nothing and you stay at that weight for another decade, how long has this weight been on your body? Has it been a year? Has it been a decade? Has it been 3 decades on and off? Then in the grand scheme of things, 3 weeks of a plateau is really not putting a whole lot of pause to things, right? Give yourself the space to know if what you're doing is working. Now, if it's not, how do you need to pivot? Let's say you've been stuck for a few weeks, or let's say you tried to implement some new things with your business and those backfired and they didn't work. Do you just quit your business? No, of course not. You have to find the solution. There's always a solution. So you have to be ready to pivot from things that are not working. Let go when something isn't serving you. Let go. Fully evaluate if that's true or if you're being emotional. But if it is totally true that what you're doing isn't working, pivot. Don't hang on for dear life because you thought that this one thing was gonna be the way. And then we hang on and we drag it and we try to force it to be the solution, even though all the signs are there. This ain't the solution. God's hitting you over the head with a 2x4 and telling you, and you're refusing to listen. Your body is giving you all the signs that whatever, you started keto and you have no energy and you just keep pooping your pants and the scale's not going down. Okay, then this wasn't the thing, regardless of whatever thoughts you had before you started, right? And so be willing to pivot, take your emotion out of it the best that you can though, and try to be objective and come up with a solution that makes sense, that is logical, that isn't how is the fastest way that I can get here. Make it more like long-term, how can I get the result that I seek and keep it? Because I didn't do something weird, gimmicky, something that was going to cause burnout. What is some sustainable actions that I can take and go implement those things to move yourself closer? So have fun with this. Sit and evaluate your goals. If you didn't set any goals for January, good for you. But we don't have to only set goals in January. So if there's something that you want to work on and you didn't set a goal for January, but you've got something in your mind that's been really bothering you that you want to take some action on, I want to encourage you to muster up the courage to write that goal down, figure it out. What exactly do you want? Sometimes figuring out what we want is hard. We don't always know what we want. I talk to women all the time who don't really know what they want, and that's okay, but sit and figure it out. Figure out what you want. Figure out what goals need to be a priority. Put a plan in place. What are going to be the indicators of if you're making progress or not? And go put them in place, even though it's February 1st and not January 1st. It's fine. And then come March 1st, reevaluate. How are you doing? Keep your eye on the prize. Be intentional. Evaluate everything through an objective lens instead of getting caught up in the emotion of the goal that you're trying to achieve. And conversely, don't just take your eye off the prize and let yourself off the hook either. You got to keep your eye on the prize. You got to hold your own feet to the fire. You got to be honest about how you're behaving. What things are you doing well? What things could use a little bit of help? Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't guilt yourself because you didn't do all the things perfectly. Nobody does all the things perfectly. That should never be the goal. But evaluate what's going well, what's not going well. Where is there area for improvement? Is this actually working well? And I just need to be a patient human. Lots of possible questions that you can ask yourself here while you're doing that goal check-in. But as always, I would love to hear how this one sits with you. Feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook. Make sure that you join us over in the Simplified Fat Loss group if health and wellness is a goal that you have. And again, hit the subscribe button, share these episodes with your friends, and I will catch you next week.